Hello, I'm Amy Zawi with the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report for Wednesday, September 26th. Campus craziness. This past week, Israelis and Jews worldwide celebrated Sukkot, which is one of the 3 mandated pilgrimages to Jerusalem during the time of the temple that Israelis were commanded to make. Well, when one student simply wanted to study in Israel, not necessarily make a pilgrimage, her response from her university professor was enraging. At the University of Michigan, a professor refused to write a student a recommendation letter because of the destination of the travel experience, which is Israel. The professor went on to say that he would write a letter for any other topic or destination, but not one for the purpose of visiting Israel. Well, that's blatantly discriminatory, and I don't know how a professor can get away with that. And while some denounced his decision as the email response to the student was published, no consequences whatsoever were taken from it. To top it off, in the professor's response to the student telling her that he could not write the letter for this purpose but could for another, he actually noted that BDS, boycott, divest, and sanction, was the reason. But this professor failed to note that BDS is considered discriminatory in the eyes of a bipartisan U.S. Congress, and that the U.S. Anti-Defamation League also notes it as discriminatory and anti-Semitic, as well as many other credible organizations. No, the professor's response not only legitimized BDS accusations and measures in his refusal to write the letter, he was also a participant in BDS. The University of Michigan, where is your mind? And at the New School in New York, the Students for Justice in Palestine noted publicly that the terrorist attack and murder of Israeli-American father of 4, Ari Fuld, who was fatally stabbed by a 17-year-old assailant, well, in their words, that he was neither a victim nor a hero. Now, Fuld succumbed to his wounds shortly after being stabbed, but not before he ran after the 17-year-old assailant, chased him into a falafel house where he then attempted to attack a worker there, and Fuld stopped that attack before passing, and the falafel worker even noted in her public statement that Fuld was her hero as he stopped her from becoming injured. So this is really very sad that the social media posts from the Students of Justice in Palestine in America are tolerated and at least not countered in any way. In the SJP's post regarding this terrorist activity, they noted that colonialism comes with consequences. And they described Ari as a, quote, armed militant right-wing extremist who called for putting Palestinian dogs down, and that he was neither a victim nor a hero. Quote, his fate could easily be determined by his own advocacy. Thus, the SJP is saying it's his fault. However, the SJP is erroneous in, quote, saying what Mr. Fuld had put in his September 13th video release in support of terrorist victims worldwide, both in America, in Europe, and in Israel, in that he was saying that terrorists need to be put down. In his video, quote, it says, of course, the terrorists who blew up the buses in Israel or stabbing people in Israel, for shooting people in Israel, firing missiles at the people in the land of Israel, and sending over kite bombs, and terrorists themselves are to blame. And I'll say it out loud. If there's a rabid dog that attacks someone, yes, the rabid dog must be put down. A moment later, in the same breath, in the same video, he clarified, I am talking about terrorists. I'm not talking about anybody else. So it is a pretty reasonable response to all the violence to say that the perpetrators of that violence need to be quelled or put down, in his words. That does not mean that he in any way, shape, or form was targeting an ethnic group, a people, Palestinian, Arab, or otherwise. He was talking about terrorists. Now, the SJP did not respond to the Alden Myers reporters' request for a response to these postings on their New School Facebook page. However, the SJP has 200 chapters working in North America at college campuses, and they all promote boycott, divest, and sanction campaigns and measures. That is, boycott, divest, and sanction Israel, which seeks to isolate Israel until it abides by Palestinian demands, which includes the fact that it no longer exists. Other SJP measures to legitimize Palestinian terrorism have been noted, including at the University of California in Santa Barbara. Several images of a Palestinian woman holding pistols and AK-47s were posted as a glorifying measure. As well, the Leila Khaled, a member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP, is an organization that helped hijack 2 planes in Europe in 1969 and 70. Its formation in 1967 resulted in the murder of scores of Israeli citizens and is founded by Palestinian nationalists. At Temple University just last month, the chapter of the SJP there hosted an event featuring readings from the PFLP Secretary General Ahmed Saadat. Now, keep in mind that the FPLP is a designated terrorist organization by the U.S. government, as well as 30 other international organizations and nations. So, on a U.S. college university campus, designated terrorist organizations' leaderships, speeches, and writings are espoused on the campuses of our soil as legitimate fodder for study, and in this case, for agreement. In an era where hate speech is monitored and may include phrases such as Jesus love you or Shabbat Shalom, and designated spaces, safe spaces are noted where you can't say to anybody, I disagree with you because, organizations on college campuses are getting away with espousing what can objectively be determined as blatant hate speech and unsafe speech in that it is hostile against an entire nationality and ethnic group, that is, Israelis and Jews. Sometimes it feels like we're living in Alice in Wonderland's realm, where there's an upside-down logic and a lack of common sense. Common decency is ignored, and an agenda that is offensive and dangerous and counterintuitive to all that Western civilization has built over the millennia seems to be ignored. May we continue to pray for the peace of Israel and rest on the promise that God blesses those who bless Israel as we do all that we can to fight not just a culture war and general injustices, but we fight for the truth, and we do that on a front known as BDS, as well as many other fronts that are waging war against God's order. Shavua Tov. Have a great week.